legitimacy of these proceedings. And as John Adams observed, facts are stubborn things. The scenario of a Supreme Court vacancy occurring during a presidential election year is not a new thing. It has occurred 29 times in our country's history. Presidents have made nominations all 29 times. The precedent is unequivocal and uniform. When a vacancy occurs in a presidential election year, the president makes a nomination. That includes Republicans, that includes Democrats. A total of 44 people have served as President of the United States. 22 of them, half, have made a Supreme Court nomination during a presidential election year. What has the Senate done? Again, the precedent is clear. Of those 29, 19 of those occurred when the President and the Senate were of the same party. Of those 19, the Senate confirmed 17 of them. The precedent is clear for a long, long time that if the President and Senate are of the same party, the Senate, in all but extraordinary circumstances, confirms that nominee. How about when the Senate and the President are of different parties? That's happened 10 times. In that circumstance, the Senate has confirmed the nominee only twice. 2016, which our friends on the Democratic side invoke, and I understand why they invoke it, they were frustrated. 2016 was one of those instances in which President Obama was a Democrat, the Senate was in control of the Republicans. They had differing views on the kind of justices that should serve on the court. And so the election resolved those views. One example that has been pointed to, Senator Klobuchar just pointed to it, Senator Harris at the vice presidential debate previously pointed to it, was Abraham Lincoln. We are told that Honest Abe, the founder of the Republican Party, showed the example for why we should not be proceeding on this. I think it's worth noting that example misses a lot of the story. So Abraham Lincoln, in 1864, 27 days before the election, Chief Justice Roger Taney passed away. Roger Taney, by the way, had been the author of the infamous Dred Scott decision, an abominable decision of the Supreme Court. So suddenly there was a vacancy 27 days before the election. Senator Klobuchar and Senator Harris before her both pointed out the fact that Abraham Lincoln did not make a nomination in those 27 days. What both of them omitted was that the Senate wasn't here. The Senate had left. They had gone home. This was not the age of jet travel. This was not the age of commuting every weekend, jumping on a United flight. They were gone, and the Senate would not return until December. So there was no Senate physically present to confirm that nominee. When the Senate did return in December, Abraham Lincoln nominated in December a justice to fill that seat, Salmon Chase, which the Senate confirmed the next day. 24 hours later, they confirmed him. I would note also that Abraham Lincoln was in the midst of a presidential re-election, and as Doris Kearns Goodwin writes so beautifully in Team of Rivals, he was very good at assembling the political coalition he needed to win, and so he had multiple factions of the Republican Party that were splintered. Some things haven't changed from 1864. And Lincoln had multiple players that wanted that Chief Justice seat, all working really hard to re-elect him and dangling the nomination out in front of each of them. So Salmon Chase had been his Treasury Secretary. Salmon Chase had been a pain in the rear to Lincoln. And as a result of this vacancy, Salmon Chase went out and campaigned like crazy for Lincoln to get him reelected because he wanted the nomination. None of that should be shocking as a matter of history. And there are many members of this committee that enjoy being students of history. But to suggest that that is somehow a precedent that requires us not to fill this vacancy now is, well, I actually can't put it better than the Washington Post, who fact-checked Senator Harris on this claim. And the Washington Post, not exactly a right-wing bastion, the Washington Post conclusion was that Senator Harris's argument, quote, wasn't exactly true. So I recognize that our Democratic friends wish a different president had been elected in 2016. I'm sympathetic to those arguments. I recognize that our Democratic friends wish there was a Democratic majority in the Senate, but the voters decided otherwise, and so this committee moving forward is consistent with over 200 years of history and precedent.
I wonder in our time who is the Salmon Chase of the Republican Party. So many to choose from. Senator Durbin.
Mr. Chairman, I want to first thank Senator from Texas for his sympathy. We know this is different. What we're witnessing this morning and this week is different than anything we've seen. Some of us have Robert Bork stuck in our craw. Others have Merrick Garland stuck in their craw in terms of what has happened here. But I think we all need to concede that we're not in a place where we should be when it comes to the operations of this committee and of the Senate and our relationship with the Supreme Court. The chairman started this hearing by reminding us about votes that were taken 98-0 for Anton Scalia, 96-3 for Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Ruth Bader Ginsburg's vote, incidentally, was some 6 years after the Robert Bork experience. How did we manage to put together bipartisan coalitions for people on such opposite ends of the political spectrum, whom we knew going in were very clear in what they believed? And now today we struggle vote to vote, day to day, when it comes to the filling of vacancies on the Supreme Court. I think there are a lot of explanations for it. One of the things that we have witnessed here, and I have witnessed in the time that I've served on this committee, is a denigration of the process to the point where it's almost useless. We've reached a point now where gifted, experienced jurists, legal scholars take that seat behind the table and then deny everything, refuse to answer anything. Consider that. Here we are in a situation where we ask, Senator Feinstein asked the nominee, can a president unilaterally delay a presidential election? She couldn't answer. Too political. Too political. 3 express provisions in the Constitution that spell out that that is the standard for the United States of America. She could certainly have alluded to that. I asked her as a follow-up, can a president unilaterally deny a woman the right to vote? 19th Amendment. Sorry, can't answer it. Could be case come before me someday. It even reached the point where Senator Kennedy asked this learned attorney, professor, and jurist if she had any opinion on the issue of climate change, and basically she said, never thought about it. Don't have any views. What are we dealing with here? We're not dealing with the reality of who this person is and what she believes, but some kind of artifice that we have constructed between the nominee and our questions. I would be afraid to ask her about the presence of gravity on Earth. She may decline to answer because it may come up in a case. You know, it could come before the court someday. And then I look back in history at other nominees, both conservative and liberal, who have answered questions along these lines. What was the purpose of this hearing if we've reached the point now where we really don't know what she thinks about any issues, any major issues? She hides behind originalism. She's not the only one. Many do. But won't even go to the original words of the Constitution when it comes to the transition of power. It just defies logic that we are putting ourselves through this on the notion that we are measuring a person who will spend the rest of my natural life, and many on the committee, serving on the court if she ends up being nominated and approved and confirmed. And we know that this process is really stacked. The president told us so, repeatedly. Where we can't get a direct answer from the nominee, we get direct answers every day in the tweets of the president. We know exactly what his motive was in nominating this person for the Supreme Court. He doesn't cover it up. His motive was to make sure that there'd be someone on the court to eliminate the Affordable Care Act.